Hey everybody, I just wanted to share a quick video with you this evening just to share some exciting news about some things that are happening in my life and some new focus that God is bringing to my life in the months to come. And so it's all good. It's pretty exciting, the stuff that God is kind of putting together, but it's a pretty big change. And so I wanted to try to get the word out as best I could. I know that news travels fast, and I would love to sit down with so many of you, whether I know you through Revive Ohio or through the Methodist Church or friends and family, all the circles that I connect with. I'd love to be able to sit down with all of you one-on-one and just be able to talk face-to-face and share this kind of excitement with you. But I thought this may be the best way at this stage just to be able to share directly from my heart, because I wanted everybody just to kind of hear from me and just be able to share what's going on. So here it is. So I'm in the process right now of launching a brand new ministry. And many of you know, many of you are watching this, for the last year or so, a little over a year, I've been serving with Revive Ohio, and it's been incredible. We have seen God move, and I feel like in so many ways I've just had a front row seat to just seeing God do some incredible things in counties all over Ohio. And I still believe in that, and I 100% want to support that going forward. So this is not me running away from Revive or anything like that. So please don't jump to some conclusion like that. I love Revive Ohio. I'm going to continue to support it in any way that I can. I've offered in the days to come to continue to any way I can be a blessing, whether I come and just volunteer in cities or speak occasionally or anything that they need. Just know that I'm there and I'm going to be a part of it because God's using that vehicle. But in the midst of this last year, God has just continued to refine for me a vision that honestly, although it's a new expression, for me it's kind of something that's been there probably since middle school. And so let me try to explain that a little bit. Let me tell you, some of you know this already, but let me tell you just a little bit of my story, because I think it ties into what God is doing in me and kind of what our family's going to be doing in the months to come. My journey with Christ started when I was little, second grade, but then it was in middle school is really when that's when I started sensing a burden to spend my life telling others about Jesus. And it was in middle school, in sixth grade really, when I started to sense God's call in my life to go into some kind of vocational ministry, to be a pastor or something like that. And I couldn't shake it, and it was heavy and on me, not in a bad way, but just in a way that it wouldn't go away. And so in ninth grade, I was at a summer camp. I was at a Christian camp, and there was this kind of service in the woods, kind of a special evening worship service. And I remember that night the speaker sharing about Jesus as the Lamb of God, and it really wasn't a sermon about going into ministry at all, but that's what God had been doing in my life and what he was speaking into me. And so that night I went forward and I prayed a really simple prayer. I don't remember the exact words, but essentially the essence was, God, I know you're calling me, and so whatever it is you want for the rest of my life, I'll do it. I'll just obey whatever you ask me to do. Well, just FYI, that's a dangerous prayer, because you never quite know how God is going to hold you to that. And so my life really, to this point, the whole trajectory of my life has been in response to that prayer in ninth grade. And honestly, I want to spend the rest of my life living into the answer to that ninth grade prayer. I just want to be obedient to whatever Jesus asked me to do. And so a year and a half ago, when I encountered Revive, that's what I knew God was asking me to do. And I'm 100% confident that was the step he was asking me to take. And so I stepped into that. Going back, if you rewind a few years, how do I get to become a Methodist pastor in the first place? I remember in high school, I used to tell people, I know God's calling me into ministry, but I'm not going to do two things. I'm never going to be a youth pastor, and I'm not going to be a Methodist pastor. Well, guess what? The first 3.5 years of my ministry, I was a youth pastor, and of course, then I became a Methodist pastor. And so that's a good lesson in don't tell God what you're not going to do. All right? So in any case, how did that happen? Well, when I was in college, honestly, I'm just being real honest with you this evening. The reason I didn't want to become a Methodist because I saw as a young, passionate, teenage guy, and then going into college, I wanted to make a difference. And at the time, I grew up in a wonderful United Methodist church, and people invested in me, and it was a blessing. But as an institution, I was just disheartened. I felt like, it was just slowly dying. And there's been a lot of stark realities in our church, in the Methodist church, in the last several decades. And we're not reaching a lot of new folks. And it is hard. There is cause for concern. But as a young, passionate guy, I was like, Lord, I don't know. I don't think that's where I'm supposed to be. But so I just started praying, and I really felt a conviction like I was supposed to be a part of a denomination of some kind, or a network, or something. So I'm going to overanalyze her. So I started just researching like crazy and created this silly like master spreadsheet, and I would track like, core doctrinal beliefs and all this stuff. And it was kind of overkill, but hey, I thought, man, this is a big decision where I'm going to kind of land. And I even met with some different denominational leaders and stuff. But in the end, there was a moment I remember very specifically in prayer where I heard the Lord just speak real clearly in my heart and say, why are you running away from the spiritual home that shaped your whole life? Speaking of the Methodist Church. And that hit me really hard. And in a really kind of instant moment of clarity, I knew God was calling me back into the Methodist Church. Even though I never really left, I just had this sense that that's what the Lord was asking me to do. And I just committed to be a part of just, living for Christ and preaching the gospel in the midst of this tradition that had formed me. And so that's what started the track that led me to end up in the United Methodist denomination. In any case, I spent about 12.5 years between a youth pastor and a director of discipleship, an associate pastor, and then for a number of years up in Salina as a lead pastor, serving in United Methodist congregations. And it was a blessing. It was an incredible time of ministry, and I thought I would do that for the rest of my life. But if I'm honest, in the midst of it, I still sensed that there was something missing. I still longed to see the kind of transformation and the kind of outreach that we read about in the scriptures. I still long to see the kind of things that I read about in the history books with the Wesleyan revival that birthed the Methodist Church in the first place, of people coming to Christ and being transformed and growing in holiness and experiencing the power of the Holy Spirit today, and all these kind of things. Not just in my own personal journey in the church, but I still long to see that in a larger way in our church. And honestly, those roots, those things in the Wesleyan movement, that's where my heart has always been. The early days of the Wesleyan movement were characterized by unprecedented evangelism, robust, intentional discipleship. They called people into holy living, and then believing that the Spirit of God still moves today in power, that He can direct your life and shape your life. And they saw that firsthand. And so those kind of hallmarks were what captivated me in our sort of Wesleyan movement and what I long to see today. Well, a year and a half ago when I met Revive, those are some of the things that I started to see. These are real people who are not just talking about the Great Commission, they're living it out. And so through a whole series of things, I just sensed God calling me, asking me to step into that. So I did. And it's been an incredible journey. But in the midst of that, in the midst of living out this new kind of missionary calling, sort of feeling like a missionary to the United States in many ways, what I sensed is that my heart for the Wesleyan and Methodist movement didn't go away. It just continued to grow. And the new methods and the new sort of movement that I was learning from actually, in some ways, pointed me back to a model that could be used to reawaken the roots of the Wesleyan movement. And so I won't get into all the details, but basically in the last couple of months, God has just lined up thing after thing, circumstance after circumstance, person after person, answering specific prayers. In all kinds of ways, God has made it really clear that I'm supposed to take what I've been learning, the things that God's been shaping into me, what I've experienced over the last year through Revive Ohio, and take that into the circle, into the network that shaped me, and bring it back into the Wesleyan sort of Methodist world. And so that's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm just in an attempt to just be obedient to what I believe the Lord's asking me, to try to continue living into the answer to that 9th grade prayer. And so God has given me some just tremendous open doors with key leaders and really key leaders even around the country who are longing to see this kind of a new Wesleyan movement in the 21st century. And so I've formed a brand new ministry. It's called Spirit and Truth. If you want to learn more about it, you can go. The website is live. It's still being formed. There's still lots to be added, but it's spiritandtruth.life, L-I-F-E, spiritandtruth.life, and you can read about more of what I'm doing. So in the next couple of months, for my Revive Ohio friends, for my church friends, and everyone, I want you to understand kind of what's happening. For the next 2 months, really August and September, I'll still be serving as a missionary, as a team member with Revive Ohio. But that's going to be kind of fading out as far as my day-to-day work with Revive. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm still going to work with Revive any way I can to support them as a volunteer and just as a person who believes in the movement. But in the next 2 months, I'm going to be transitioning out of that day-to-day work with Revive, all the behind-the-scenes stuff that I've been working on, and then ramping up my full-time attention to Spirit and Truth. Officially launching Spirit and Truth in October. And so it's going to be an exciting journey. Honestly, I don't know exactly what all the future holds. Spirit and Truth focuses on just some basic things. One is really just some of what I've been doing with Revive, but in the Wesleyan and Methodist streams, just going to churches that are desiring to see revival, to see God move in a new way, to recapture some of our early roots in evangelism, discipleship, power of the Spirit, and doing some coaching and training, and then some renewal experiences, much like what we do with Revive Ohio, to help them learn how to embed this kind of new DNA, which is really not new. It's all old, but just recapturing that in their church today. So on the ground stuff, that's what I'm going to spend most of my time doing. At Spirit and Truth, we're also going to be kind of compiling, creating and curating some incredible Wesleyan resources, sort of solid biblical resources for Wesleyan folks through our website and social media streams. And we've got some really awesome seminary professors and pastors who are going to be contributing to that, just national leaders who want to help propel this movement forward. And then also in the months to come, this is a little bit down the road, but we're going to be launching an online journal for scholars and respected pastors and things to really just contribute to the national dialogue of really casting a new vision for the Wesleyan movement in the 21st century. So there's lots to do. There's so much that's going on. And God has been opening some just incredible doors. I guess at this point, I'll just ask you to do a couple of things. One, would you just pray? Would you pray? Because this kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't anticipating it. God just kind of dropped it in my lap and just started paving the way. And so it's an adjustment for our family. in all kinds of ways, practical day-to-day ways, starting a ministry from scratch, all of this kind of stuff. So would you pray? Would you pray for Spirit and Truth? Would you pray for the future of that ministry, that we would just walk in wisdom and only do what God wants us to do? Second, would you pray for Revive Ohio? We've got some tremendous leaders, an incredible team that's working on that, and that there's so much to be done, and so many counties that are upcoming. And just pray that God will continue to move in a powerful way through Revive Ohio. And I know I'm going to be doing that. And I've been so blessed. It has transformed my life, changed my life. I never would have in a million years have thought or even considered doing what I'm doing now if not for Revive's influence. And just so you know, the Revive leaders, the Ohio leadership, the national leadership have been incredible. They've blessed me in this decision. They've worked with me on the transition plan. They really see this as a ripple effect of what the vision we've been living out with Revive. It's not really something different or new. It's just sort of another expression of what we've been working on together, taking the gospel and this emphasis on revival to a new sphere of influence and a new network. And so I'm so grateful for how they've walked with me in this. So pray for Spirit and Truth. Pray for Revive Ohio and Time to Revive, that God would just continue to bless them and increase their ministry. And also, I'd ask you just to follow what's unfolding with Spirit and Truth. Many of you I know follow Revive Ohio and all that already. But if you're interested in seeing how God's moving in this kind of new circle, would you just follow us on Twitter? It's at Spirit Truth Life, Spirit Truth Life, all together. Follow us on Twitter. Find their Facebook page, Spirit and Truth. You can look us up on the website, like I mentioned. Maybe some of you are listening to this would feel called to give. We need people who believe in this vision of what we're doing. And so I'm going to spend the next couple of months, one of the things I'm going to be doing in this transition is trying to meet with folks who might share this vision of seeing God birth something new, a new awakening through the Wesleyan stream. And so if that's you, I'd love to talk with you. Reach out to me. I need folks like you who will invest and be a part of this ministry, not just in prayers, but in your finances. So if that's you, would you just send me a message? I'd love to meet with you. Or if you just want to make a donation, you can do that right on our website. All the info is there right on spiritandtruth.life. Any case, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I just wanted to be able to share directly as best I could. I am sorry this is such a long video, but I wanted you to hear straight from me, and I want to be able to share my heart. And so I love you all. I love what God has been doing. I'm so blessed to see what God has been doing in the last year with Revive Ohio, and I'm excited about this future in Spirit and Truth. God is up to something really unique and special in this time, and any way that I can be a part of helping more and more people discover the hope that's only found in Jesus, I want to do that. And so if this is the next faithful step that He's asking me to take, and I believe that it is, then I want to be obedient to that. And that's what I've been preaching in my churches in the last 13 years. That's what I've been speaking of almost every time that I speak for Revive Ohio, is just obedience to Christ. And so that's what I'm trying to live out in this next faithful step. And so thank you for listening. Thanks for just hanging in here with me, and thank you in advance for the ways I know you're going to continue to support our family and this ministry, and thank you for your prayers. All right, I love you all, and I'll give you more updates in the future as things unfold. God bless you.